We're back again with the weekly vol, another week. This time on Thursday, which little bit of a change, but not too bad. It's still been just under a week anyway since the last episode, and we're joined today by a very, very, very special guest, a real trader, someone who's deep in options and perps, someone who you probably should be following if you want to get a good understanding of maybe what's going on in the market. Maybe you can learn a thing or two. I certainly have, and delighted to have Professor Satoshi joining us today on the show. How's it going, sir?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm glad to be here. And thanks for having me on the show. I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been an okay-ish week for me trading wise. Anyway, I did some good trades this week, but also had some trades that have still got open right now as we speak that are in the red a little bit. So I'm hoping our fortunes turn. Yeah, it's been okay. I can't complain. How's it been for you?
Same. So, yeah, like on the trading side, it's been pretty pretty frothy, I would say, but there's a lot of opportunities for like short-term traders, scalpers. I was like you. I had a red short position. I tried to short the bounce a little bit too early, and I stopped and I waited 3 days, and now I just tried to reactivate those short positions. I could have done a little bit better myself. I TP'd like the bounce a little bit too early. But there's just nothing. There's so much volatility in on the low time frame that it provides for a really good trading environment if you catch the right side.
So interesting. Is that kind of like how you like to trade, like on the short time frame, scalping a lot, or like news trading a lot?
So I do use news trading scrapers as part of like a strategy, and definitely this year had to focus a lot more on that. But my bread and butter is actually options. I came from a TradFi background, so options trading, especially on Bitcoin, was like really natural for me. And I prefer to do options over perps, but there are certain environments, and we are definitely in one where um, perps or even spot is superior to options because you you just don't know which headline's going to come out next week. You think you have something like a view for like what's going to happen next week, and then all of a sudden there's a headline. It's like you're doubting yourself or you're flip flopping. So right now, like the really low time frame tactical stuff, definitely on the perp side. And even as like an options trader, I've been sharing a lot more perps trades. Even recently.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Tell us more about it. Like, how did you get into options? Like, you mentioned that you worked in TradFi as well, and like you also mentioned, you trade Bitcoin options, or like that's your bread and butter. Like, what kind of options are you trading? And like, what was your like option trading style as well?
Yeah, sure. So you're right. I was working TradFi at Morgan Stanley for 4.5 years before I went full time into to crypto. And before that, I was at PwC and Google doing like consulting work. But my time at Morgan Stanley was like around the algorithmic trading strategies. I was never actually like a institutional trader, but was sitting next to the Chads and just testing the strategies and whatnot. And then producing reports about like, hey, this is going to work, and this is going to do this return, or this model is going to explode in our faces, and we should never put this to live or production. So and there's like a lot of delta neutral stuff involved there. But ever since leaving MS, I applied a lot of what I learned there to Bitcoin options because at the time, on Deribit, which is I guess everyone's introduction to Bitcoin and crypto options. Now there's so many different platforms to trade options. Vols were like 150%, even like 200% on some expirations, and I was looking at this and I was like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on in this market? And I thought that was something that like as a trader you could take advantage of because um, let's say you have a 100K account, at the heydays of Bitcoin volatility, you could be generating like 3% of your account equity per week, which is like 3K per week, just, doing some very, very basic vanilla vol selling strategies. So and at the end of the month, you're up 12% on your account, and I was just basically running this for a few years until all the alpha kind of like disappeared, and now Bitcoin vols are at like maturing levels of what you would want to see in an asset that's growing at the pace Bitcoin is growing. It's a teenager, believe it or not.
Mm.
Even at $107,000 on my screen on Coinbase, um, it's still a teenager, and it still has a lot of more room for growth. So, despite the volatility going down, which means the profits of for options traders sellers going down, it's something you want to see because that kind of like volatility actually invites larger players to allocate to spot, which is what you want as a like a Bitcoin investor or like a long-term holder of Bitcoin. You want bigger fish to join the pool, whales to join the pool after you, ideally. And I still think there's a long way to go. Um, and I think there's still opportunities in the options space, despite the volatility, sort of being down only. I think it will be like that, especially as we continue to grow in market cap, because we're no longer this $500 billion digital coin. This is a $2.5 trillion asset now, 10% of gold, right? And if you think that Bitcoin can be, at least half of gold, that's you're looking at a $500,000 Bitcoin within a millennial's lifetime. So like that's like my super 10,000-foot level view of like Bitcoin and the option space. I can dive deeper if you want.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm interested to know, like, you mentioned like some of these selling strategies before when vol was high. Now that vol isn't so high, like, what do you find is like the the vanilla strategies that people are doing today that you find are consistently profitable? Is it still selling vol? I mean, vol IV is still higher than traditional equities, and I guess Bitcoin's actually been performing really, really, really well, actually.
It
Uh,
is, yeah.
so yeah, like what is it that you find nowadays that like option traders are enjoying more?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, sadly, you can either size up into a short position, which is what a lot of retail has been doing. There's a danger to that, obviously, because now you're adding more negative deltas to whatever spot position you have, or if it's cash secured. So the other way is gamma scalping, which is a little bit more technical.
Hmm.
This is definitely not a vol selling strategy, but you could make it like a delta neutral sort of positioning. So for anyone who doesn't know what gamma scalping is, it's a it's like scalping perps, so to speak. You have to think about it that way. But it's a trading strategy where the trader tries to profit from like pretty frequent but small price movements in the volatility of Bitcoin, and it could be non-directional. Um, like delta neutral doesn't you don't have to necessarily have a view on the direction. You're just having a view on volatility itself. Um, and in, and you could structure it in such a way where you can harvest the time decay or the theta decay. Um, but the goal of of gamma scalping is to capture profits both from time decay, or in other words, theta for the Greeks people in the crowd, and then the difference between the implied and then the realized. So the actual like price swings. Um, and when the realized is higher than the implied, you can sort of make adjustments to that so that you can profit.
No,
So
makes
that's
sense.
like two ways to do it. So I've been personally I was forced to as a retail trader to like really size up my positions. I would love to have like more capital, but this it's hard. I mean, retail now, like you can't just it's like people are already afraid of buying spot Bitcoin at $100,000. Like I had a few friends saying, "Oh my God, it's so expensive."
Mm,
And I get it. Like if you want to have a spot position to sell options with to generate premiums or to just have cash or generate more Bitcoin, $100,000 is not a small amount of money. It doesn't matter if you're an omega whale with like seven figs. Uh, I feel like crypto Twitter is like completely delusional. Sometimes they're like, oh, like this is like not a lot of money. I was like, I don't know who they are, but $100,000 is a lot of money to anyone, in my opinion. So um, it's hard. So if you're retail, you got to use like somewhat leverage techniques to sort of feel like you're catching up. But again, there's a danger to that. And I think leverage is a good thing, but it's definitely getting hard. The game is definitely getting harder, and I definitely feel that myself as someone who's been trading options for um, 10 years now. It
Yeah.
will be 10 years this year.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Yeah, maybe we need to start denominating Bitcoin in satoshis, as your name suggests, rather than like units of Bitcoin. Maybe people will find it less expensive.
So funny story about my name. It's kind of cringe now that I've kind of grown into this online character. I wish I chose a different one, but there was a show called Money Heist. Have you seen Money
Of
Heist? I don't know,
course.
Mo or yeah. So, Waj, yeah, you've seen it. So I I really loved that show, and I thought that when I was selling options back in the day on the zero DT, I was selling two DTEs like just rapidly because the IVs, I was like, there's no way that Bitcoin is going to realize this in like 2 days.
Mm.
So I thought that it was like a heist, like a Satoshi heist
Yeah.
from the exchange. And nowadays, it's like the MMs on there are like way more professional. They know how to quote things better. So in a way, that game got harder, or I guess you can say more fair.
I like it. I like the name. I think it makes sense. You know, you're selling these options. You got just 1 day or 2 days to kind of realize it. Yeah, I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
the near dated stuff is really fun to play with, especially like if you're a seller. The same happens in TradFi. Like, the whole zero DTE boom on like SPY options or like Tesla or like some
Hmm.
one of those, hot Nvidia, like the hot names. Um, like a lot of people are posting on like Wall Street Bets, which I'm not sure if you're aware of. There's a forum on Reddit
Yep.
that like they're doing these zero DTEs, and then they're making 7,000% on like this like $2,000 gamble, right? So it's like look at this, look how easy this is. But actually, selling those, in my opinion, has been better for me than the gamble side. But yeah, we could talk about that if you want.
I mean, I just thought it'll be really funny to just like I literally just typed it in, and maybe we can just like showcase this like people doing zero DTE everyday strategies on SPY, and yeah, I think it's funny reading a lot of this stuff. I find it amusing anyway.
There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly what we're doing at IVX as well. You know, we're focused entirely on zero-day option market for Bitcoin, ETH, and some other alts as well. Especially with hype coming up as well. And yeah, we think like there's a huge market opportunity in crypto for these sorts of instruments too. We've seen the likes of Wall Street Bets really adopt it, especially after the whole GameStop saga a couple of years back. And I think that trend is continuously increasing. Whether you're a speculator, or whether you're someone who wants to sell and kind of earn that theta, that value of theta. Yeah, I think there's a market for it on chain in crypto for crypto options as well. So yeah, that's IVX's motto as well, and what we've been cooking for a long time now too.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yesterday was a really busy day. It's just been a busy few weeks actually. So I hadn't had a chance to really deep dive. I just saw the zero TTE offering. So can you tell me a little bit more? I'm actually interested in like hearing like the market making capabilities, or like the route that you guys picked.
Yeah,
Obviously it's shorter duration, so it's like focused more on like 2D TE, 1 and 0. But and the differing offer products, like you have Bitcoin, it sounds like, and then maybe Hyperliquid. So yeah, I'm interested in hearing.
yeah, so I think when it comes to on-chain options, like there's been a couple of issues historically. I think one of them is like this idea of fragmentation, where you just offer like far too many options, far too many assets, far too many strikes, far too many maturity dates, and like you just fragment all of the liquidity that you have across all of these different all of these different things. And I think that's been like a huge problem for like options on chain, especially. And I think it's also been really tough to kind of attract market makers with, they historically have been, they require a lot of money, requiring there's this kind of chicken and egg problem as well, where you need like
Yeah.
retail flow and then the market makers come, but like the retail don't come if there isn't market makers. This is like a big problem with options as well. So we actually designed an AMM model, and we think yes, order books might be better than AMMs, but I think for spinning up, something especially a little bit more long tail, I think we at IVX feel like an AMM model is much better. You can always transition that to an order book or have a hybrid model where you have an AMM and order book later. But I think initially to spin up an AMM, so we have an AMM. You have the traders on one side, and we have LPs on the other side. And again, even with LPing, um, one of the issues is like, what are you going to have like a separate LP for like every single different asset that you offer, every single different strike that you offer? No, like that's also going to cause fragmentation. So we have like this unified singular liquidity instrument. It's called IVLP, and essentially it's an index. It's an index of all of the assets that we currently support, which is Bitcoin, ETH. It will be on Hyperliquid. We'll also have Solana and Hype. So we'll have those four assets: BTC, ETH, Sol, and Hype. Maybe we could add something like XRP if there's demand for it, but we'll stick with those four for now.
Hmm.
And this is all in one singular index. So the index is composed of 50% stables, and the other 50% is these four assets. The weighting as such, with 20% being in Bitcoin and 10% being in the other assets, ETH, Sol, and Hype. And so you've got this singular instrument, this singular like asset, which is composable. You can use it in DeFi as well, which is called IVLP. That basically is the counterparty to the traders. It'll earn the trading fees, and earns from being the counterparty to the traders. So if traders lose, then IVLP will make more. And there's also like this index. So like, it represents kind of what a lot of people's portfolio might look like today as well. A large portion of stables, but also some exposure to Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, and Hype. And yeah, on the trader side, you can buy and sell. We only do zero DTEs.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, we don't do two DTEs or three
Two,
DTEs
yeah.
or anything like that. Just try to niche it down. We have three strikes for each asset as well: at the money, slightly in the money, and slightly out the money. And we have an expiry at ATM UTC every single day, and it works well for that. So if you want to trade
Interesting.
options on those kind of instruments, especially zero DTEs, you can be a buyer or a seller. You can sell options on IVX as well.
I was gonna
Um,
ask that because you guys went with the AMM route, and I totally get the chicken and egg. I mean, it's something that we still there's still some like that's like the if you could figure that out, I mean, you've basically just figured out like this like multi-million dollar like
yeah,
question.
yeah.
It requires a lot of experimentation and smart minds. So I get the AMM route, and then like if you guys want to switch later, once there's like flow, retail flow, then like you have the option to switch.
I think that's
Um,
usually the best way to go about it, especially if you're offering kind of something a little bit more long tail.
right.
I like AMM, and then like transitioning into the order book or having like a hybrid AMM and order book model. I think that's, if in my eyes, it's the best way to go about it.
Right, right. I think, I mean, I haven't checked, but I think if you're like a retail user, the only thing to consider is probably like the spreads. Using an AMM model on zero TTEs, it's like, number one, like, do they care? Because if you're taking a position zero DTE, most likely you're looking for like a pretty substantial move
Mm.
to kind of like sacrifice whatever spread there might be from an AMM model. Um, and then of course, like if they're comparing across venues, for example, like if someone is comparing like a zero DTE spread on IVX versus, I don't know, some Robinhood IBIT option or like some Deribit or other on-chain venue. I think there's a few. There's like um I'm sure you know more than I do actually, but yeah, there's a few on-chain options venues now.
Yep. No, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that is certainly.
Oh, I love this UI, man.
Mm. No.
This is actually this looks so fun. I mean, it looks like a gambling site, but I love this. I would totally use this. It even has a degen mode.
Yeah. So
Okay,
we
okay, walk me through this. Sorry, sorry.
so we're in degen mode right now, and degen mode like abstracts away buy call, buy put, sell call, sell put. Right? We in degen mode it's just buying, right? So you either buy a call or you buy a put, and that we even just kind of abstracted away the word call and put on degen mode anyway. So up or down? That's the question that we have to ask. You got the chart right here, and like I said, three strikes. So you got slightly in the money, at the money, and out the money. You'll see your implied leverage basically based on the option contract price versus the underlying. So as you can see, in the money, obviously those contracts are going to be a little bit more pricey. Hence why your
Mhm.
leverage is only 83x. I say only because when we flick to 107k, you can see it's gone to 180x. And if we go to 108k, we're at 400x here. It's as simple as just entering how many contracts you want to buy and essentially just clicking this and clicking buy. If we go to the pro mode, which is I put pro in quotations because it's still fairly simple. You pick the type of instrument you want. Maybe you want to sell, and you can do the same with the strikes and essentially do exactly the same thing. Try to keep it very, very, very simple here.
It would be, yeah. So can I? This is so cool. I just want to jump in. So a
Yeah, yeah,
few
please
things.
do.
So like, does the user? So okay, first things first, it would be really cool where like if you're short a call, like the line pops up on the chart, like you profit if price is not here and you profit if price is here, so that people kind of know. Especially,
Yeah,
I mean, you're on the 1 minute time frame, so like
yeah.
people that are on the 1 minute, they probably gonna want to know. But so that would be cool. And then the other thing is that, yeah, first of all, I love the UX. Um, if you're buying, like, I guess like someone who's using this might confuse it for a perp. Like for example, like you could buy a call, but if the volatility realized to get above the strike is is like a very slow grind, I'm pretty sure Mo or Waj, you found yourself in a position where you're long calls, and then it's like, okay, but we got to my strike, but it was so slow that like I didn't even make any money. Is that something that you guys thought about, or like it's more like, no, this is like calls and puts, so you have to have realized volatility higher than like whatever implied you got in at.
Yeah, no, no, I get you. I get you. I think probably like what we will likely do over time is see if we can incorporate, potentially something like an option chart itself, so you can kind of track your trades against that. Um, but yeah, I think at times, you're right. Like some people think that this, especially because of like the type of product that we have here, and I think in crypto, many people are used to perps. In TradFi, people aren't necessarily used to perps. It's kind of a new thing for them, and so with options, of course, you need this kind of like three-dimensional way of thinking, right? It's not just the price; it's the volatility, the time decay, it's all of these other factors as well, gamma, etc. And so I think it does require a little bit of a different way of thinking, and perhaps maybe the UI doesn't always reflect this. So I think probably what we'll see with Pro mode is that this kind of advances a little bit over time, whereas we keep the simple degen mode for the gamblers, the ones who just want to take that speculative bet. It's Friday tomorrow. I've got $20 to spare. I see something on the news. Trump's doing something. You know what? Let's go for it. And maybe they'll 10x in an hour or so. It just depends what the market does. So I think that's kind of the way that I see it at the moment.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, if you do like implied vol chart on like the 1 minute, that would be insane. But that data is I don't
Expensive.
even, yeah, that would be very, very low time frame data. I'm not even sure which venues would even provide that.
Yeah, there's a few, but I think it's not. Yeah, it's tricky. It's very very tricky. I think even like getting the oracles for something like IV is like so so tricky. You know, we've been in touch with Chainlink a lot, as well as a few of the other oracles. In regards to like getting IV on chain, and even that is like a tricky thing itself.
Yeah, of course. I know.
Um,
Like modeling black shoals on chain was a whole
mm.
like 2-year process for some teams.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, I think we talked a lot about IVX. I think Mo, I haven't heard you so much in the last 20 minutes, so maybe we'll go back to you and like ask you like, what's your week been like as well, and what have you been trading recently, and how's the market been for you?
Yeah, so you remember last week when I was telling you like, yeah, I'm building this ETH short position, and it
Oh yeah.
actually paid off. My average short entry was around 2,500 and something, and I took profit at 2,150 exactly. I took profit
Oh
there, but
wow, literally here.
yeah,
Nice.
I was too scared to bid. I thought to myself like, yeah, maybe I could buy lower, but yeah, I should have bought. But yeah, it was a good trade. Uh, I'm actually building another ETH short right now. I think we can go maybe 5% down from here. I'm not sure if we see new lows, but I'm definitely sure like at least Bitcoin wants to retrace a few percentages at least, like maybe to 104, and this will definitely get down some alts.
Yeah, fair. Prof, do you trade Bitcoin specifically, or do you trade ETH and other stuff as well?
So I trade everything.
Okay.
I trade equities and crypto, but in crypto world, it's like lately it's been um, Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Hype, Farcoin, Maker, Say, and a few others. But I yeah, like
The ones
Mo,
with the most
I'm
volume.
yeah, exactly. Wherever the tension of the market is, and I either like to just join in on the trend if it's going up. If things look a little exhausted, I'll take the other side. Um, but I'm with Mo. Like, I think ETH is actually in trouble in July. Like, I think we could trade 2,000 actually.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and like
I have to
BTC
zoom
like
out.
92. I know it sounds like a terrible, like for me, like whenever I see Bitcoin dipping, I'm happy because I get to buy more spot cheaper because I'm
Mm.
a believer in like 500K. Like I wouldn't be in this industry unless I thought Bitcoin was going to 500K. But for altcoins, there's literally 10,000 altcoins. So how do you like pick the winners? It's so much easier to pick losers if you really think about it that way. And I know a lot of retail like struggle because they think, altcoins are just going to go up and up and up and up only alt season. But reality is like for the last few years, and I'm talking years, not even months, if you shorted bounces, like you probably were better off than just trying to like long dips and getting stopped out a million times until like the account erodes to like zero. um, and like Ethereum, Solana, they're just the most liquid, but there's obviously a whole other like laundry list of alts to like be short. And you can also pair trade it. You can be like long BTC or short some alt if you don't want to have just like one single position or like directional view. You still have a long BTC position.
Yep. No, I think the last thing you said is one of my favorite trading styles anyway, is to kind of just basically it's basically just a representation of this chart, which is long Bitcoin and short alts. I think last week we talked about someone on Hyperliquid creating a vault which was basically long BTC, long hype, and short everything else, and that strategy is basically just like this chart to some extent, just kind of up only. You do get the occasional like 1 week or a few days of like red, but like generally like the following weeks erases all of that, and we're at all-time highs, well, cycle highs I should say, on Bitcoin dominance. I mean, look at this.
Up only. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this has been the trend from September 22. We're in middle of 2025 now. We're almost 3 years of this kind of trend, and I don't think that trend is going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah. I like how you view this chart as like long BTC, short alts. Like people call it, it's the Bitcoin dominance chart, but it is like it's a picture of like Bitcoin versus altcoins. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, how are you gonna short this chart? That's why I don't like shorting Bitcoin. I don't know why. Yeah, I,
Mm,
I see crypto natives like shorting our number one asset. If you short, like I just don't like the idea of shorting Bitcoin. Like, if you're going to
totally
short
agree.
Bitcoin, you might as well short a call option instead, in my view. Because yes, okay, I get it. Like, if I think Bitcoin's going 100, from 107 to 92, it's like, okay, why aren't you taking a short perp? But like, if I think that, why wouldn't I pick something that's going to outperform on the downside, so to speak?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, exactly,
Like, this
exactly.
is literally our number one asset. And look at the
Yeah.
chart that you have on the screen, Watch. It's literally, I don't know how, you're gonna call top on this chart. Like, not something I'm brave enough to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you did it any time over the last 3 months, maybe you got lucky, and for 3 days you were in the green. But if you held it any longer than a few days, you're down, or you would have been stopped out. So
Yeah,
yeah.
being a bear doesn't really pay. Like, even during the tariff scare, like people are talking 1929 Great Recession. U.S. stock market, S&P 500,
Mm,
global like equity, China, Europe is all going down to zero because of this tariff war. Like, if you just look, I don't know, I think Twitter is like very doomer, and like doomerism sells. It really does. Like,
mm,
and people really buy into it, especially like retail folks who sort of like get their information from social media anyways, which is, I don't just necessarily disagree with getting information from here, but there's just so much doomerism. Like, look at this chart. Like, how could you be bearish? You were right, like maybe 1 week every like quarter.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like, okay, applause to you, like you were correct. But being on the optimistic side, I think, prevails for in the long run.
Yep, yep. Makes sense, makes sense. So, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about hype, because I thought it was really interesting to see some of your takes on Twitter on this. Yeah, I'd love to like just hear you like kind of talk through like what you were referring to. I think the pattern is looking very, very clear here, but maybe for some of the viewers who are tuning in, we've got almost 300 people who are watching us live right now. Maybe
Yeah.
kind of just explain a little bit about like what your thought process is, how you even kind of approach a trade like hype, for example, as well, and just kind of share some of your knowledge with us all.
There's no doubt that hype is the strongest alt in the market right now. I think it has the attention of everybody. And it went from $9 at the low to, I think it printed like 40 and change. So going against this trend sounds really like a terrible idea. But there is a point where, like, you're um the trend is your friend, so to speak, and I do believe in that. I think that it's sort of exhausted that. There's a few things like, number one, if you just look at the chart itself, I think it's doing some sort of like head and shoulder pattern, which I know is like a meme sometimes, because it's like, how many head and shoulders have you seen just invalidated?
Mm,
But so that's number one on the TA side. Then there's like unlocks, right? People are unlocking, and maybe they're not selling all of their spot, right? But there are unlocks. It's happening. It's been happening. Um, number three is that I think we're heading into a quarter, in not just crypto markets but financial markets in general, where we're trading at a level now on like equities, and Bitcoin, and not just U.S. equities, like other equity markets too, in like global, where it's like, okay, are we like susceptible to any risks? And my answer is like yes. I think we could go to all-time high on S&P, maybe 6,100, like a very small one, like marginal, similar to what Bitcoin did, a very small all-time high. Um, but now you got all these like Q3 risks, especially like not just like the macro calendar and the macro data of what's happening in the U.S. But we have like the big beautiful bill, like that's supposed to be a huge like fiscal stimulus for the U.S. And then you have the tariff deadline July 9th, right? Um, I think August is when China's tariff pause ends,
Hmm.
and then you have like expiration on like around July 16th for equities. So a lot of like hedges coming on and off, money's going to be flying around everywhere. So for me, like I'm typically very optimistic. I just think that there's more risks to the downside than there is catalysts for the upside. I do acknowledge, like, I'm not super bearish equities. I just think that crypto is so far out the risk curve that it's going to be hard to, catch a bid. And also, like, people who bought the lows, they probably want to get out or, take some profits. And then people who are unlocking also, well done to Hyperliquid and the team. I think they deserve to capitalize on such a magnificent job they've done, especially, trading at these valuations. I think it was like 35 billion FDV or something like that. So well done overall. Now, who's like the marginal buyer? All the funds are in. I've heard that argument. So, so it's like I think there's just more risk to the downside. I'm not calling for hype to go down to $9. I don't think it will go down to $9. But I do think, revisiting sub 30 is in my view for July and August. And I'm a buyer at those levels. Like, I feel like people in crypto, it's like the charts are only allowed to go up, not, and never allowed to go down. But that's not how markets always work. They go up and down, and there's like an ebb and flow. So, you know, this bearish head and shoulders that I posted on Twitter is getting a few snarky comments. But usually when those snarky comments, like I shorted hype at like 40, and then it went to around like $31, and I remember people in my comments saying, good luck. You're gonna need a lot of luck. Like, you have fun staying poor. And all those comments, and when you get those comments, usually you have a good trade. I don't think the same setup is there as when it was trading at 40, but I think there's some sort of like distribution happening here, and also same thing for Bitcoin. I think there's like a distribution happening
Yeah,
on Bitcoin as well.
fair enough. Fair enough. Just zooming in on this chart, the wicks on these candles are just crazy. Like unbelievable amount of intraday volatility here, which is if you're a good short term trader, then or you're scalping, this must be a dream for some of you people.
Yeah, I caught the short side of this, but then I closed it a little bit too early.
Yeah.
Um, and then long the long the dip, and also I closed my longs a little bit too early too.
It's
That was
okay.
my
Yeah.
flaw.
Mo, any thoughts on hype? Like, is this something you're trading as well at the moment? You mentioned you're trading ETH and shorting ETH, but are you trading hype as well?
Yeah, I haven't been trading hype lately just because of uh, in the last few days when it went to 30 or $31. I set some bids around 27 $28, but they didn't fill. And I said this to a guy I know. I said to him, like, everybody's waiting for hype to go between 26 and $28. It makes me feel like it won't go there anymore, and it's just gonna keep going up from $30. And that kind of happened. I don't know if it keeps going up from now. I wouldn't say so, because, like, as Professor Satoshi said, like, we're going into summer, and this usually brings some low volumes, which means less fees, which means less buybacks, which I think will kind of slow it down.
Fine, fine. I think, you can probably look at this if you look at like the month over month volumes. I think they stabled out a little bit. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly.
Yeah, that would be great to see because you're right, Mo. Like a lot of it is about like transactional volume and being able to buy back the hype.
So here we
Yeah.
go. I think May was a great month, a new all-time high in terms of volume, 250 bill. We'll see where we close out with June. We still got a couple of days left, haven't we? So it's the 26th of June. So we got a few days left. Is it
We
is
might
it
be
is
seeing an SFT.
is it going to be 250 bill? I don't think so. But again, we'll see. It's still going to be stronger than April though. But I think seeing the summer months. I mean, maybe you could look at it on a weekly scale instead and see like is it still kind of
Oh, I like
green
that
or
view.
Is it kind of distributing out a little bit? You're right. I think it's actually a really good point, Mo. Like, yeah, a lot of it is, based on the volumes, and there is some mimetic component to like how much volume is generating fees, and those fees being used to buy back hype. Of course, over 90% of the revenue being used to purchase hype. If that does go down, then the rate of purchase goes down slightly. So yeah, it's something to consider. Fair enough. I like that. It's good analysis. Mo, anything else like in the market that's interesting to you right now? Let's see. Have we lost him, Mo?
I still see him in the stream.
Shit, I muted myself. Yeah, I
All
said
good.
I'm just like accumulating short positions on ETH and Sol. I think Solana will continue to underperform for the rest of the year.
All right, talk to me
Especially,
about Soul. Like, what's like your thesis on Soul? Like, why do you think that?
yeah, like everything going around in the Solana ecosystem, including Pump Funds CGE. I think that will be a big extraction event, and there's some news that Pump Fund will create their own chain for trading meme coins, which is bearish for Solana. And there's like other rumors that the meme coins will now be paired against the Pump instead of Sol, so that will also be bearish for Solana. And like the Solana against BTC chart is very bearish as well, so I expect it to underperform.
Fair. Like, where do you think like the floor is for something like Soul? It does have some intrinsic value at the end of the day. It's probably better than most other L1s. So there is some sort of floor value. I suspect Soul to fall out of the top 10, for example.
Yeah.
Where do you think that is? Because it's had a big drawdown already. I mean, if we zoom out, this was trading at like $300, almost 290. So and this was in January. So 6 months. We're down 52% on Sol already. Like, what is the floor? How is this going to keep going down in your opinion? Like, where do you think the bottom is?
Uh,
Of course, it's hard to know. Like, we don't know where markets are going to go exactly. But like, do you have something in your mind?
I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to $90 maybe.
Like, basically the wick that we had 7th of April, something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and I do expect Solana to eventually go back to like maybe 50 or 60, like in the bear market, not right now. Maybe
Okay.
next or the
Okay.
year after. Like I will be buying Solana in spot there, definitely.
Fine. Fair enough. Professor Satoshi, like, what are your thoughts on Sol as an asset class as well? Is it, you mentioned that was something that you're trading at times. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I really liked Soul. I think it's coming up on some challenges, Pump Fund being the main challenge. So just so everyone is on the same page, like TradFi viewed Solana as like a casino stock.
Mm,
And in order to own the casino, you owned like Sol itself, then you have like a little bit of Radium, maybe some JTO, and that way you can own the casino without actually, they don't know how to pick like what's the
meme coins
next,
or
like,
anything.
yeah, they don't care. So now with Pump Fun really sort of like separating itself from Solana, and especially with the TGE coming up, I think a lot of the TGE, like if you wanted to sell Solana because you were bullish on it because of Pump Fun, I think you had enough time to sell now. So I don't think it'll be like this. I don't think you're going to see Solana just drop 5% on the day of the TGE. Maybe a little bit, like 2%. But I do think that, if I think Bitcoin's trading at 92, I also think, you have to think Solana trades somewhere like between 100, 110. So it's in trouble for like the near term, but I think that it's a good momentum asset because when Bitcoin does trend, like the type of people who are looking for beta to Bitcoin are looking at like Ethereum or Solana, and then the crypto natives are looking out further to like Hype and like a meme coin like Farcoin, or any other meme coin. So you're gonna have the people bidding Sol behind you are like people with a lot more money than me personally. So it's like that's why I like Solana because it's a good momentum asset. And I also think that it's one of the stronger L1s. It's just that it's gonna near term. There's some trouble for it despite the ETF, and we don't know the inflows of the ETF. But the Bloomberg guys think that somewhere between July 1st to July 15th is the earliest, and then October is the absolute latest. So that's some good news for Solana Bulls. We'll get to see like the data from the flows, similar to how we were monitoring data for the flow ETF inflows for Bitcoin. It could surprise to the upside. We don't know what the appetite is. Right now, I feel like the appetite is a little bit low for super far out the risk curve crypto stuff. Um, and you can kind of see that because the altcoin market has been lagging.
Yeah.
Fine. Sorry, Mo, you were going to say something.
No, I just said like, yeah, I agree.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. The ETF is a really interesting one. I haven't been reading too much about it, so yeah, it's news to me that it was coming as early as July. I was actually looking at like the ETH ETF and noticed like there was some actually not too bad like inflows. I think yesterday, what 60 million, 100 a couple of days before, 70 the day before, 100 the day before that, like pretty good inflows in the last 3 days considering what it's been like. But this is always somewhat of a lagging indicator as well, and I think if despite that, like still looks yeah, not the strongest. Does actually kind of, yeah, maybe we do need to have a little bit of a bearish view, but yeah, just an interesting point that I thought I'd mention. Outside of some of these majors, Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, hype, is there anything else that's kind of on your radar, or is it more about finding weaker assets to kind of put as the short side of your pair trades, for example? Mo, as well,
Yes.
to you as well, to both of you.
So yeah, I know the whole industry right
Go
now is
ahead.
like okay, cool. Yeah, the whole industry is sort of like got this like bearish vibe on alts, and I get it because a lot of them, well, some of them don't need coins, and then some of them have like valuations that are like, you know, more money than like some companies that like actually produce stuff in like the real world, like a concrete company or whatever, like a housing development,
Yeah.
you name it. But the on-chain stuff is actually very interesting to me as well, although I'm not like the strongest like on-chain narrative finder. I'm usually hopping in like after something is formed. Um, the intersection of AI and crypto, I believe, is like really underexplored, and those two bubbles are like in mid-flight. So I think there's like four bubbles. You got the crypto bubble, which is like in mid-flight right now. You have the AI bubble, which is in like mid-flight. Then you have drones technology, and then you have like robotics. So those are the four I think like any trader or investor should kind of like have their like eyes on.
Mm,
So what crypto is good at is bringing liquidity to markets that are sort of like transient or like somewhat illiquid. And that doesn't necessarily mean like um, raising money for a scam, for example, but like where is the intersection of like AI and crypto? Is there an intersection of like AI and like robotics, for example?
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not smart enough to be the builder of that. But I feel like that's the underexplored area. And we saw Q4, the demand for the intersection of AI and crypto, and I think that that union exists somewhere. We just saw the very high end, like frothy speculation of like those meme coins that were just like ChatGPT wrappers. But I do think that there's useful applications that can bring users on chain. They don't necessarily have to know that it's on a blockchain, but it marries these two bubbles, right? Like the AI and crypto bubble. It could be, AI sports betting. Like I think there's a few projects like that on chain. It could be, decentralized LLM that's like uncensored. I know that's a very high, ask order. Hold on, sorry. I'm getting a lot of liquidation and news.
That's okay. Is
No,
there
no,
some?
that's me. That's me. That's me.
Okay. I heard like a
No,
lot of Telegram.
I'm not getting liquidated. My TPs are hitting on Solana.
Oh,
Oh
nice.
shit. Am I up on my hype short? Let me see.
Let's have a look. We can go to the 1 minute chart and have a look.
It's only up 12%. No, that's not the move I'm looking for.
Solana on the 1 hour chart is kind of interesting.
Is it? Shall we pull it
It
up?
looks cooked. It looks so cooked. I'm T-Wapping
Yeah.
short on ETH, hype, and Solana.
Oh yeah, look at these candles on Sol.
But anyways,
Nice.
yeah, like I think there's interesting stuff on chain to be found. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's like, all that bearish out there. I think there's a lot of coins that don't deserve the valuations. I think WorldCoin, for example, is like overlooked. WorldCoin, I think, is so hated, but Sam Altman with OpenAI, I'm sure you guys used ChatGPT before or some other form of LLM.
Yeah.
Like, AI is not going anywhere, and like identity on chain makes a lot of sense. Although the orb thing does scare people, I guess, but
You haven't
I mean,
scanned your eyeballs yet, have you?
I went to one of their like conferences. I didn't scan it yet, but like I'm sort of opening up to the idea of like a world coin, to be honest.
Fair. Okay, I guess we'll keep an eye out on some of these coins. I pulled a few of the charts up for some of the AI crypto assets. Yeah, maybe something to just kind of keep an eye out on. Cool. I am just a bit wary that we're kind of getting close to the hour mark here, so I'm just gonna say, like, is there any kind of last comments or any last topics that we want to cover before we wrap up?
Yeah, I actually have a meeting to run into in like 7 minutes, but no, I think we covered a lot today about the market, different trading strategies for options traders. We covered IVX, covered a couple altcoins, and then some like on-chain narratives that might pop up. So I think we literally covered every aspect of the market, like from options to perps to on-chain.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. I think it was great. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, it was perfect. Really, really good.
Yeah, this is really fun. Thanks for having me on, Waj and Mo.
All right, guys. I think we'll wrap it up there. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in to the weekly vol. We'll be back again next week potentially. I will be at EFCC, so maybe we could find someone in person potentially, or maybe we'll keep you all updated with when we're going to go for it. Anyway, most important thing for you guys, IVX is coming to Hyperliquid EVM, so we will be going live very, very, very soon. That's why I've got my little Percat over here. Make sure that you play around with the app. Come and join our Telegram. You can come join us. We're always talking about options trading and all of this sort of stuff. Yeah, hope you enjoy the app. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll be back again next week. See you later.